All right, I'm going to welcome everybody this morning and turn it over to our panelist director, Alan Yu. And go ahead, Alan.
Welcome everyone to the Post-Permanency Support Services panel. I'm Alan Yu, the Executive Director of New Yorkers for Children. I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues, Evelyn Ancoma, the Post-Permanency Support Social Worker at Mercy First, Samantha Callaghan, the Director of Adoption and Kinship Support at New Alternatives for Children, Melissa Holliday, the Program Director at Council on Adoptable Children, and Cassandra Rivera, the Youth Skills Specialist at Council on Adoptable Children. A little bit of background about our panel. So in collaboration with Spence Chapin Services to Families and Children, New Yorkers for Children recently launched the Post-Permanency Support Program. Our program provides New York City families the best chance for success in preserving and stabilizing placements once children have been adopted or placed in kinship guardianship. The New York City's Administration for Children's Services, ACS, is also a key partner in our work. For up to 5 years, our program provides 80 to 100 families annually with a range of services, including adoption, guardianship competent programming, trauma-informed care, peer-to-peer support groups, mentorship opportunities, and a variety of workshops. And we selected 3 qualified organizations to carry out the program that you see here: Mercy First, New Alternatives for Children, and the Council on Adoptable Children, placing high emphasis on evidence-based practices that can be incubated and scaled up if proven successful. And in doing so, we hope to really strengthen the ecosystem of post-permanency support in New York City. So before we begin the panel, just a quick bit of housekeeping. Please submit your questions in the chat box and we will field them as they arrive. So to begin with our first question for our panelists, what in your experience shows that post-permanency services are so necessary in today's child welfare landscape?
I can go first. I just think being connected to community is so important for our parents and our youth. The interventions that we provide, it's similar to some of, I do see familiar names here, some of our PRC programs that are grant funded by OCFS. The main goal is to prevent any kind of adoption disillusions or any interruptions in the home. And in working with my colleagues the last 2 years, we've been able to work closely together to ensure that these families do succeed, whether it's linking them to our on-site services at our individual agencies or exploring the appropriate resources from within the community. We really work cohesively together to ensure that we are addressing the needs as best as possible. So at NAC, for example, if we don't have the services at our agency, it's great to have colleagues that do.
I can go next. So our programs allow families to continue the support after having case management in their lives for months and even years. So transitioning from having a bunch of people in your lives and in your family and in your home, we like to have that transition be smooth. We don't want families to feel like they're just dropped and here you've adopted or here you've completed kin gap and now everyone's gone. People still need the support. And I think having a program like this really allows us to have the family remain stable, have that support without the pressure of foster care. So
yeah.
thanks.
Evelyn?
Okay, so I would just add in a little bit to what Ms. Culligan said. I think what is most important in this to me in this program is the disruption. You know, as a former foster care social worker, you always wondered what would happen, you know, when they have issues, they have trauma, they have services, who is gonna continue that? And mostly it happens in court, and families don't have nobody to, you know, connect them to these services, or they are lost. It's like it happened, we got the papers, what do we do now? Now at Mercy Fair, we have a lot of families that will call right after adoption, will ask, oh, how do I get the original birth certificate? How do I get this? They need somebody to, you know, they need a way to navigate the system. And, you know, the best way of you know, preventing disruption in families is making sure that they have adequate support. And I believe that is what PPSP is giving to the families right now, is supporting them that, you know, they are able to freely, you know, navigate the system without, you know, any disruption, anything that can cause them, you know, to re-enter foster care, or, you know, put them at a place where it will cause, you know, them to even consider coming back to care.
Mhm.
I think that's so important, Evelyn. We try to play a liaison role to bridge that gap. We do realize that some of our families are exhausted from social services. They're exhausted from systems. We try to approach everything in an anti-racist lens. Our families have been impacted, lots of trauma. So we really try to play a liaison and make sure that they are introduced, even if it's very light. Here's our brochure. We'll conduct a courtesy call at the very least, just to touch base, because we do want to respect their self-determination. And if this is not what they want right now, we do try to follow up with them when the time is right. And sometimes the time is not right, right? Because we do get a lot of families in the midst of crisis. And oftentimes we wish that they were connected to us immediately. And I do hear from those families maybe weekly, like, I wasn't connected. I didn't even know this was available to us. And as someone as myself that has been impacted by kinship care personally, because my parents were also kinship parents, these services didn't exist back then. And if they did, I think that their situation would have been different. So when I do see my parents struggling with these issues, I really try to take a proactive approach and encourage them to, you know, seek services when they are ready to be, you know, open to those services.
Yeah, and to just kind of add on to what Melissa was saying, and sort of kind of what Sam was saying as well, our families are very vocal about, you know, like Sam said, that they're not connected, or like they wish they knew about these services earlier. And, you know, the families that we work with have no problem telling me, you know, how overwhelmed they're feeling, or, you know, how confused they're feeling. And they're very vocal about coming to me for resources, asking questions. So, you know, just hearing from the families directly about their frustrations, their confusion, and, you know, just how overwhelmed they're feeling really highlights the importance of these services and how important the work that we're doing really is.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like, you know, all of your organizations are really boots on the ground. You really see firsthand, working with your families, how, you know, how in high demand these services are. And so I guess, given all that you guys see and that you experience, what are some of the biggest challenges that your families face post-permanency?
I can kind of start that one off. One of the biggest challenges that I see some of our families face have to surround the topic of mental health, whether it be their own mental health or their youth's mental health. You know, they've taken in a child who may have experienced, you know, a certain amount of trauma that, you know, now that foster care is no longer involved, maybe they don't know how to get access to the therapeutic services that they need, or the psychological evaluations that are needed. And so I see a lot of the families that we work with, that's one of the biggest challenges that we're working on with them is getting them to first acknowledge that those services are needed, and then working with them to get those services. And then even with the youth, you know, they may not be so trusting at that moment, so maybe they don't want to really work on it. So it's getting them to see the importance of not only taking care of your physical health, but your mental health, and helping them navigate, you know, the feelings and the traumas that they may have surrounding their mental health and getting those services.
I can, I just to add to what you just said, I had the personal experience working in foster care, and I have a family that, you know, they adopted, but they never gave the children any adoption talk or anything. So it's a struggle for so many people. Don't let them know, the kids know, and as they grow they start asking questions. We have a family, the child started telling two of the siblings that this is not your real mommy, this is not our mommy, because he was older. So the little ones don't understand. They'll come to their adoptive mother, asks, didn't we come from your belly? So they don't have a way or outlet. After adoption, nobody was going to tell them that there's these services. And they were recently, we enrolled them a couple of months ago, and part program is assisting us, you know, finding therapy. I think they started Saturday. So it's a way of connecting them to what can help them, and the whole family is going to have this therapy. So mental health is very crucial. All kids, as we when we had an in-person conference, all kids have gone to trauma. When it comes to separation or anything, they have something that, you know, they would need therapy for. But in most cases, we don't see that, you know, they get this support, or even where do they access this support? This family was then when they saw me like, oh, Miss Evelyn, okay, we need it. They did not refuse it. They are like, we need it. And we think that the kids, you know, because the child ends up in school, the child doesn't, you know, is very not focused, thinking about the other mommy and not knowing why they're there, because they never give them that adoption talk. So that's also a struggle for family to even connect with the kids, to let them know that, you know, I'll give them that talk, like, or even have a therapist if they can do it, to have a, you know, counseling, do a counselor do it for them. And that's what we are, you know, working with parent organization to do that for them now, and hoping that the child can improve in school. I'm hoping that that's what it's going to do for him.
I think some other big challenges that we do face from our parents telling us the lack of childcare and respite services. Also, how to navigate those relationships without foster care involvement. So we do have adoptive parents that want to connect their child to their birth parents and have supervised visitation. And for example, this week we received a referral from 2 adoptive parents that would like our agency to supervise those visits. So we don't have enough therapeutic supervision services. And we know that our social workers, our team, can help them coordinate that, establish boundaries, community rules, but that's not enough. I know that there are some contracted therapeutic visitation programs that do assist the parents with them, but I think they're costly. So that's one thing we should consider, you know, moving forward. How do we support our families practice openness to these birth connections? So that is a service that is missing right now. And then for our grandmothers, there's those intergenerational issues. A lot of them don't have standby guardianship. Who are their backups? Who are going to care for these children after? So we have older adults adopting children, but there's no plan in place. So it does become a permanency issue, and we do often talk about future planning with our parents.
And to piggyback off what Sam was saying, some of our grandparents also struggle with, you know, working with the young people. We work with kids in this program at 13 to 18. As teenagers get older and challenges come up, the parenting has to shift. And I find that one of the challenges is the grandparents or great aunts and uncles really struggle with parenting teens in today's day and age with technology and you know, kids can just call an Uber or call DoorDash. They are able to have their hands in everything. And sometimes our kinship, our grandparents, great aunts and uncles aren't super tech savvy and struggle a little bit with how to maintain their stability in their home and support the youth while providing appropriate discipline.
Yeah, these are all great points about mental health, the adoption talk, childcare, the intergenerational issues that face the families. And so with all of these challenges, how does your organization address that in administering post-permanency services?
Alan, could I share one thing very quickly?
Oh, yeah,
I just wanted all the programs here to know that we have special funding for New York City, Long Island, and Hudson Valley to provide really good adoption competent, foster care competent, trauma informed therapy. We can pay for 5 sessions with a top-notch therapist, therapists that don't accept insurances, that don't accept Medicaid. And what we're finding out preliminarily is when a therapist and a family work for 5 sessions together where neither one is at risk of losing anything, sometimes relationships develop that last beyond the 5 sessions. So we encourage anybody who's having a struggle finding a decent mental health professional to make a referral to this program, and all you got to do is write to me directly, and I'll share that with you. But I wanted you to know there is ability to access really high quality therapists for those 5 sessions, and you just never know what might occur as a result of that. I'm sorry, Alan. I just wanted to share that.
Oh, no worries. That's a great resource. Thank you for highlighting that, Pat. So yeah, I guess what is the greatest challenge your organization face in administering post-permanency services?
I can sort of kick off that one as well. The biggest challenge that we face when administering these services is really working on the trust with the families, working on gaining the trust of the youth, like we've talked about before. You know, they've been in and out of services, they've had people come in and out of their lives, and especially during the pandemic when everything was kind of shifted, maybe services stopped or what have you. A lot of these families have a mistrust of social services, and that's based on their relationship with their foster care team. So when they come to us, you know, it's not instantaneous, right? So it's not, you know, I talk to them one time and all of a sudden they trust me. You know, it's a constant working relationship, checking in with them, checking in with the kids, the parents, and really showing that we're here for them and that we're here to listen to them. And, you know, it can take months, you know, at least 6 months for these families to really start engaging. So gaining that trust and working with them to engage them in our services has been the biggest challenge.
And I guess going off of that, Cassandra, is there a peer element to that in terms of the families being served? Are they sort of networked together in a way that builds that trust with the organization?
Like, are the families networked together with each other? Is
Mhm.
that, yeah, so we try to foster those kinds of relationships. Like, at least with the youth, we do take them on outings together and they get to, you know, meet each other and hang out with each other. And we've seen, you know, in some of our more recent outings, you know, if a youth wasn't there, all the kids would ask, you know, where's so-and-so? Like, we were really excited that so-and-so was going to come. So we definitely see those relationships building with the youth. With the parents, we have tried offering those services, maybe a parental support group, But it seems at this moment, parents are not particularly interested. But we have offered that, and the parents know that if they so wish to have that, all they have to do is just call.
So also, I would just add that one challenge, we already talked about the mental health assistant, mental health services, and already mentioned that was one of our biggest, finding the right therapy or who will take the insurance was a big issue. Until we recently had a meeting, and then we met Pat and explaining that what he just explained, that they have this amazing program. And it's amazing because they really get back to you quickly. They are very responsive. And that's one of the ways of finding services and who will take the insurance. Recently, I have 2 families that I'm trying to locate on verbal kids that I'm trying to locate services for them. But it's not easy because it's not not a lot of people will take straight Medicaid. And it's hard if it becomes that way because you're like, I know this service is really good and this family could have really benefited from them. Or what you can tell the family is I'll explore other options for them and, to see what is available for them. So that's a struggle too, that, so many organizations. And I feel like some of the family feel like they are voiceless when they come, once they leave foster care, so they feel like it's better to be in foster care because once you leave foster care, adoption happens. It's like all services cut off and you can access the services easily as it used to be. So that's a challenge for us also, especially mental health services, locating a new treatment for especially teens too.
Yeah, that's a great point, Evelyn. And what how do you sort of determine fit at Mercy First with therapists? Like, how do you guys find the right match?
Yeah, okay, so I would just also use product. That's the first one that we have found that is free of charge. You're not taking anything. So that is the way we determine is they send a survey to the family, and I think if you qualify for whatever they're looking for, somebody calls you. So that determination came from the program in being able to have these 5 sessions for the family. So that's the first program that we have seen. And I believe, I forgot the name, when we went for the in-person conference, there was another great resource. I forgot the name that was also given to us that, we plan to explore with the teens to see. I think it's based in New Jersey. They offer free therapy for, I don't think they have an extent, so it depends on. So that's also another great resource that we have now, that it's a place that we can go to, and we can also come to AFFCNY to also seek for that therapy, because I feel like it's going to be effective for families, because it's not like, some it's not responsive. When you call them, they don't respond, or it's hard to reach anybody. And the families as well complain too. Like they feel like once we come out of foster care, nobody listens. We don't have a voice. And so when I emailed them right away, Pat got back to me immediately, and another person from AFFCNY got back to me, and they were able to, find a therapist. Now they have a therapist, and it's up to them to arrange to see what is the best time for them to. So I think more services is needed. That is, is kind of free of charge to the families or affordable to the families that they can access.
That's really important. I just want to be mindful. Renee had a question in the chat box, I think, Sam, based on your comment about respite services. So she wanted to know what respite services are available for your families. And then also any of the other organizations can also chime in as well.
Yes, and I know that's something I mentioned, that respite is a big challenge even with our agency, but we do have a family support program that provides recreational activities throughout the year. And then specific to summer camp, we have grants at our agency. And we've always done this every year since I've been at NAC, is that we do apply for grants for families to send their children and their youth to summer camp. And I believe specifically in our program, we sent at least 20 kids this summer. So that's something very exciting. As far as, I did see Renee's question about education, because at our agency at NAC, we do have an education department, which is a highly utilized resource at our agency. The 2 resources we use most for our families are our mental health department and our education department. So we do, our team of education specialists, their main role is to advocate for families, so children with IEPs. families that they feel like they're not getting enough advocacy during these IEP meetings, or they're not being listened to. And we also have Fair Futures. I don't know if anyone knows about the Fair Futures grant, but NAC was awarded with Fair Futures last year. And this is an exceptional program. It provides access to children that were impacted by the foster care system. It provides them with long-term comprehensive supports. And we do have a college readiness program as well. So our education department, they specifically work with children from pre-K 3 on 21 and beyond that. So that's something I can share about our education program being very involved with these families.
At COAC, part of Cassandra's role is to provide advocacy for the families. So she will, if needed, attend superintendent hearings or meetings or CSCs and things of that nature, be in contact with schools or any other outside community organizations that the family is working with. In terms of respite, I think Cassandra spoke about it. We take the kids on and the youth on trips. We try to do every other month. Every month, summer will be a little easier because kids are in school. So we provide that sort of a respite. We also partner with Connections Mentoring. So our youth are invited to apply for a mentor, and the mentors do provide the mentorship, but they also provide respite for the family. So everybody kind of wins in that situation. In terms of mental health, we do have part of our program is we have a clinician who we contract with that our youth get to see on a weekly basis. She also provides family therapy if needed. So we have that built into our program. Connections Mentoring is available for New York City youth in New York City who have had any sort of experience with the child welfare or juvenile justice system.
So given the wealth of services each of your organizations offer, are there particular post-permanency services that you feel need additional investment, or some services that might be overlooked otherwise?
I think outreach and recruitment, and we've talked about this throughout the year, that it is an area that needs to be improved, and not so much because my colleagues are not doing enough. I think we're doing more than enough, like to the point that we're doing on-foot work. But we do have an outreach specialist in our team that she attends in-service presentations, whether it's virtually or in person. She tries to spread the increase awareness about our services within schools, courts, child welfare agencies, hospitals. So we really think that this is something that is overlooked, because those partnerships are really important, especially in family court. I wish we had an easy resolution to that, hey, this is the courtroom. Let's have like a stand of brochures or like a packet from the permanency planning team, like, you know, congrats on your adoption. Like, if you need resources, I know in an ideal world that would be perfect. But again, that's where these adoptions and these kin gaps and legal guardianships are being finalized. And that's where we need additional support, awareness. I know, Melissa, you were nodding your head because you've been really working closely with the courts, trying to post posters and do all that stuff. I think I was lucky maybe with Brooklyn Family Court in Manhattan when I attended their adoption day in November years ago. And that was a great opportunity to recruit families during those adoption days at Family Court.
And Chester had a question in the chat about who is that person?
Who is
that I think provides those connections, or maybe
that's us as connections to outreaching.
You mentioned someone that goes around and speaks at things.
Oh, so specifically for my agency last year, we hired an outreach. I was telling my agency the need for assistance with recruitment and outreach efforts. And after years and years of advocating for this position, they granted that, which has helped a little bit with our referral process, but there is still a need.
My
So
question
really
is
trying to
literally,
understand
who
what
is that
need is.
person? Who is
Oh,
that
it's
person?
just,
How would
oh,
I
it's just,
contact them?
oh, her name is Samantha Mata. So she's our team's outreach specialist. And it's not a magic wand. Just because we hired her, the issue's not fixed. It's still, I think everyone here that works with these programs, we know that. I've heard it in the PRC calls, the PRC conferences. So it is a help. It is a help to have someone specifically in that role.
Any of the other organizations have anything to add to that, or maybe other services that have been overlooked or require deeper investment?
Okay, so at Mercy First, we, parent, the first thing when you go to a home, when you do the referral, they will talk about support. We need more support. So we recently recruited a parent support advocate that will support, apart from so the social workers will support the families, with whatever they need with, with IEPs. I do, because I'm very involved in education, and I personally will sit in IEP meetings with your educational programs, and we do all that. We go to court once in a while. Recently, my supervisor we had a family that was separated because the adoptive parent passed, and the child nearly entered foster care. But what happened was, like, the child was in New Jersey, but she was going up and down through the court system, trying to advocating for the family to be together. And the aunt was recently, like 2-3 weeks ago, granted, the opportunity to, be a guardian for the child. So it takes a lot of, and support of, so if, additional parent support to support families. Call them, how you doing? Because there is nobody that they can look up to, that they don't get that support right after adoption. So I think it's new. We just did, the advocate was just hired, but I think it's it will be a challenge for if there's other programs that can adapt this and help the families with their education, with mental health. That's a great support for the families as well.
Great.
Gotcha.
Oh. Pat?
I just wanted to share one more thing with the 3 programs here. In regard to any family that was created through the Wendy's Wonderful Kids program, we might be able to offer an auxiliary service to something that you might find lacking. Just off the top of my head, if you're looking for a little respite, we might be able to help you with that for Wendy's Wonderful Kids families. Or if you're looking for a mentor, we might be able to help you with that, or even somebody to go to a school or anything like that, because we have a special program with Wendy's Wonderful Kids to offer services to families after adoption. And since you will be offering a good portion of services, if you find something's missing, you can call us about that as well.
Thank you, Pat, for highlighting that. Renee had another question about if each of our panelists could speak about their parent training services.
Sure. COAC provides parent training for all of our programs, and all parents are invited to all trainings across our agency. Right now with this program, we're focusing on workshops for the youth. So Cassandra holds workshops monthly for the youth on Saturdays. We're trying to accommodate the youth's school and sleeping schedule. So we try to do it later in the morning on Saturdays and pick topics that are relevant to them. Cassandra reaches out and finds out what they want to talk about. And we see ebbs and flows with attendance. And the hope is by the end of the year, we can engage with the parents, not only with support groups, but ensure that they are able to come to any of the trainings that we do offer at COAC. But the focus for this program right now is on workshops for the youth.
Okay, so our program is also, like I said, is we just started and we had a first meeting 2 weeks ago. The next meeting is in a week. It's like a monthly family support, most likely geared towards, that adoptive and king up parent, for them to have the support, come together, share services, because there is some things that, sometimes when you meet, you all discuss it together. We share a lot of things in common. So it will be monthly meetings where, families can share their ideas together, what is going on in their lives and what support, that can be offered. Because we have a family that are very great in services. I don't mind supporting other families too. So it's like connecting them to other families that are going through similar things, also help them, knowing that I'm not alone. And then I have somebody that is, going through the same thing. And this is what I did. And it's really helpful for them to, have those meetings and support groups to, help them navigate through finding the right support at the right time.
Yeah, I definitely hear all of the wealth of experience each of your organizations brings to the table and in the delivery of post-permanency support services. And I'm wondering if you can share with us a success story with one of your families that have received this support.
Yeah, so we have a young lady named Naomi. She was one of the first families that I worked with when I started at COAC. And when she joined us, she was just a very nervous individual. She had a lot of reserve about a lot of things. And, like to the point where taking the bus by herself was a big challenge, so there was a lot of anxiety that she was very open about, and a lot of concerns regarding, social settings, right? She would get very nervous in big social settings. And since then, she's worked with myself. We've worked one-on-one. She's worked with Lucy extensively. She's attended some of the events that we've gone on. And now, it's like a 180, right? Like she is out and about. She, has talked about how she no longer feels that same level of anxiety that she did, a year and some change ago. And not only is she making friends and hanging out with friends, she's also going to rallies for her beliefs. She goes out into these big crowds and rallies and supports the things that she believes in. So getting to see her growth and her change has been really incredible. And, she's a lot more communicative. And so like if she, for example, we had an issue for a while where, she would sleep through her therapy sessions because they were early in the morning. And through her own reflection and talking with Lucy and talking with myself, she realized, I need to do the right thing and make my therapy sessions later. She took that accountability for herself, which she wasn't able to do beforehand. So really seeing the change in just her everyday life and hearing from her directly about how, how much she appreciates this program has been a really great experience. And she, when I think of success stories, she's definitely one of the first people that I think of.
Okay. So I could also share, I'll refer to the child as T. So T for adoptive parent unexpectedly passed. My supervisor already knew the family. The child ended up with the uncle. The uncle kind of didn't know, the child has issues in school. They didn't know what to do. So his suggestion was, well, the child should go back to foster care. The supervisor was like, no, let's explore other family members. So calling the sister in New Jersey and her working closely with the family to make sure. She's like, I can do it. And then we work with the court. You know how family court works. It takes a while. The family don't have anything. The agency ended up supporting financially how much we could with the family. The school did support. We were very appreciative of that they came together as a community to help the aunt, because the uncle couldn't do it. And the uncle's like, well, the child has to go to further. And what we want to avoid in this program is letting kids go back. It's like zero work. So that was very impressive to see that the aunt will, came forward all the way from New Jersey and coming. Sometimes they come to family court, the case is postponed, but she didn't give up. And 3 weeks ago, she got guardianship. The child is in school, beautiful home, and the child is stable with no issues. So that's one of our biggest success stories this year.
Sam, do you have a story from NAC you'd like to share?
I do. We've been working with a parent for about a year now. She's a single mom. She's a full-time nurse. She adopted privately. I know a lot of the adoptions we are talking about are adoptions through foster care, but she did adopt privately on her own, and she struggled with supports. So in being connected to us, she was connected to us during the pandemic. In the beginning, it was really difficult to engage with her because she said, I've never needed help. So it was a lot of engagement and understanding. And when she met with the social worker, she did realize that NAC has a lot of services that not only her child could benefit from, but she can benefit from. And since then, she's been linked to our parent community. We do have a lot of support groups, different types of support groups. And since in November, we celebrated Adoption Month, and we took all our parents out. We had them participate in a luncheon together. And she met with a lot of parents within her borough. So I think that has been our greatest achievement, connecting her as a busy mom, single mom, to a group of other parents. And she's been connected to our ASD trainings. Her child is diagnosed with autism, connected to financial support to provide summer youth opportunities for him, educational support. A lot of what she struggled with, she felt as though her child was being misunderstood in the educational system. So she was assigned to an education specialist to support her in having those conversations and, empowering her to advocate for her child. And I'm trying to think of what else we've, and specifically tutoring, we did help this family with tutoring as well.
Yeah, I mean, given the myriad of challenges in this space, it's great that we're able to share and elevate these success stories with these families. And along those lines, I'm wondering what the greatest benefit is being a member of this post-permanency support program group in to your organization.
I think the greatest benefit is that we're able to support families, through casework, through advocacy, through youth engagement, through mentors, through tangible things. We have a pantry in our office that can be used by all of our families. We do a lot of resource giveaways and drives and things of that nature. We're really able to provide what I'd say would be wraparound services to these families. So I think that's one of the benefits. And Cassandra alluded to before, like building trust. And I think we're doing a really good job of that. I think that's one of the benefits, is having families trust us after being in a system that they distrust so much.
To say that one of the greatest benefit is giving parents, adoptive parent, kinga parent, a voice that, to be able to, communicate whatever is going on with them. Like sometimes when you call a family, it's such a joy to, oh my God, there is this service, and they're so excited. because they don't know that something exists after adoption. And it's like, they feel like they've gotten to the end and you're like, we can help you with this, we can help you with this. And they finally feel like they have the voice to say that's, I feel like it's not a service that is only helping the children, it's also focusing on the adoptive parent, telling them that we can help you with this. We have assisted with, rent arrears, anything we can do with making sure that the child stays in the home. We have assisted with mental health, a referral for a parent who need the help. We have assisted with them getting, the proper paperwork. For instance, some people will lose the adoption orders and like, I don't even know where to go to get it. I don't even know where to get this birthday. I don't even know how am I going to get this social. And having that ability to get all this, we might think because we work in this field is so easy, but to them it's a hurdle for them to cross. And so biggest thing, helping them with advocating for them, helping them, with the document that they need, and also giving them the voice, because they do matter. Even it's not adoption, it shouldn't stop over there. That they know that there is the service, that we care about them, that we will continue to support them, that it doesn't have to end, when adoption ends, it can continue.
I think the greatest benefit has been not only supporting our parents, but supporting the case planners in foster care. I really try to work closely with the foster care department by attending these adoption disclosure conferences to get to know the youth more during the pre-adoptive phase, because that phase is very critical. And often we don't talk about that. We talk about, okay, what is the good adjustment period going to look like now that they have been discharged from foster care? So really trying to incorporate the youth in those conversations and making sure they're attending their own adoption disclosure conference, their family team safety conferences, and also life book work. We don't, in foster care, I remember being a new foster care case planner, the work is so fast paced in court. You really don't have the opportunity to do that clinical work that you want to with the family, because you're going to medical appointments, you're supervising family visits, you're going to all these different court appointments. So really incorporating life book work. We do try to do life book work with our families. When I know my team of social workers, when they are working with the family, they do introduce life book work, and that's an activity that they can work on for like more than a year, and helping the families. I know, Evelyn, you brought up these secrets. A lot of our parents, or a lot of our children don't know they're adopted, or they do know. We've facilitated conversations with the youth, whether the youth are 12 to 15, and they're like, oh, I knew I was adopted. And the parent was so nervous to have that conversation with the youth for 12 years. And the whole time they knew. So let's not, underestimate our kids. They know what's going on, but sometimes our parents, they just need support in facilitating those conversations.
Yeah, and I guess from a logistics standpoint, are each of your organizations operating on a in-person model, virtual model, or hybrid?
We are in person. My team, they have to offer. The 3 programs that I supervise are all post-adoption and post-guardianship programs. We are a voluntary program, but we do encourage monthly visitation with the family. Sometimes they are virtual visits if the family has a lot of conflicting appointments that month, but our team is going out there. They're going out in the community and they're in the office.
We are in a hybrid situation where we provide services both remotely and in person. It really depends on the case, the family, what their needs are. But we do, if there's crisis, we will respond in person. We do home visits. A lot of our things are still remote. I think that our families have gotten used to it, some of them, and prefer it. So we do whatever the family needs.
Okay, we also operate similar to Miss Holiday's program. We are hybrid. So depending on what the family needs, we go to the home. If there is a crisis, we are there. If there is any services we can provide online, we do that as well. Virtual, if they can't do it and they have to do it in person, we will be there in the home.
And I just wanted to clarify that even though we encourage in-person meetings, we are also hybrid. So we know that during the pandemic, our families really moved to telehealth. And we've seen it alleviate a lot of issues such as transportation. Our agency is in Manhattan. We service all 5 boroughs, and transportation was always a barrier getting to Manhattan. So we have seen an increase in mental health appointments because now youth and parents are like, great, I can participate, in my living room versus having to take 2 trains and a bus to Manhattan for an individual therapy appointment.
Right, right. And is there are the virtual services as effective as in person, or are there specific challenges that come with a virtual service delivery model?
Okay, so there are challenges depending on, the family. Sometimes they are not able to navigate the system. So I had a family that I needed to help with, I believe it was an application for something. And, but it's still virtual and I'm able to, you can go here, you can navigate through this place. So it's still a challenge. It's not everybody that is, computer savvy that knows everything, but with time, I have seen that if you get them through the first time, they're able to get through. It might take a little time, but most of the time they are able to, when you give them the steps or guide them through. At least it needs a lot of patience, but so that's, it can delay some stuff, certain things, but it's not overwhelming. It does help the process. If the person doesn't want to come to an office or want to do in the comfort of their home, we're able to support that. It depends on the family. Some don't also need much support. They are very computer savvy and able to go through. So those that need the support, we are able to, help them virtually. I can look on your screen and I'm like, go to this place, and they're able to do it, most of them.
Yeah, I think Sam kind of mentioned it too. When it comes to therapy, we've definitely seen an increase in our youth attending their therapy. When I first mentioned to them, when I started working with them, that we do have a therapist, a few of them were saying, the travel, right? They may live far. They don't want to come to Manhattan or, anything of that nature. So when I mentioned to them, like, you don't have to go anywhere. Like, you can do this in the privacy of your bedroom, the tone shift, right? And they were more willing. And, they were willing to agree to meet with our clinician at least once. And then that one time turned into a second time and then a third time. And now, they meet with her pretty regularly and they're really good at communicating when they can and can't meet. And that's because they know that they can do it from the comfort of their own home. When it comes to things like the workshop, like Melissa said, there's ebbs and flows in the attendance, but, I think offering it virtually has been a sort of benefit for the youth because, they're busy after school, they're working, sometimes they work on the weekends. And so, offering something where they don't have to worry about, okay, I need to, like Sam said, take 2 trains and a bus as soon as I get off of work, they can access it from their phone. I've had meetings with youth while they're on the way home, right? They're walking from the bus stop to the house and we're talking and it works for them. It allows for a lot more flexibility than a very rigid, like, you have to be in person all the time. So we've definitely seen more participation in our services.
Yeah, it sounds like having that blend of in-person and virtual really allows each of your organizations to tailor your services to the youth and families and to meet them where they are and expand on the number of touch points. And it sounds like that's going very well. Pivoting a little bit. So, now that the pandemic is receding and, even before that, the child welfare system has been very disjointed, and just wondering what are the ways that various parts of the child welfare system can assist each of you with your provision of post-permanency services?
So I think that there needs to be more of a collaboration between our agencies and the Administration for Children's Services, Child Protective Services. They need to know we exist. I know our programs are relatively new, but it's important that we make those partnerships because, you know, there's adoptions department, kin gap departments, and we really could be servicing a ton of families. We just need to be able to reach them, and we can do that through ACS and CPS and foster care agencies and preventive agencies. I know Sam and Evelyn both come from agencies that have those programs. We don't have those programs. So connecting with other agencies that have foster care programs as well as preventive programs would be really beneficial.
Okay, so I'd like to also say that even though with the pandemic, I feel like maybe the court system would, just because of the case I shared, a little bit slower. But when it comes to, you know, looking for services, ACS has been supportive. I've been able to reach them when it comes to subsidy, you know, rate change, when it comes to, you know, payment issues after adoption, when they have been able, I've been able to reach them and they have responded. And when it comes to childcare vouchers, I've been able to reach them for them to get back to me on what can be done and what cannot be done. So it's going well, pretty well. I think I just feel like the core system a little bit slower after, you know, the pandemic, and still working on it.
I'll echo the court system. COAC has been trying to do the court system thing for so long. All of our staff at COAC have been to every borough court. We've tried to table, we've tried to leave our pamphlets, we've tried to talk to security, we've talked to pretty much everyone. So I think, Evelyn, you're right on with that.
I think ideally, and we discussed this before, it would be great if there was designated days during the week that we can have a table, simply a table. I've seen it done before when I went to family court every day for the first couple of years when I was a foster care social worker. And since you may be on an AM call, but you're there until 4 p.m., you're just picking up pamphlets, and that's a lost opportunity. That there's no visibility at family court. So again, it goes back to spreading awareness and just removing the stigma of help post foster care discharge.
I'll also add to that, as we're sitting here thinking, you know, we also reached out to legal aid attorneys throughout the city, looking to legal aid and looking to the Attorneys for Children panel of New York City, and really communicating with them, because they're the advocates for the children. So they can advocate for the services for them, you know, even prior to the adoption or kin gap.
And I guess also along those lines, in each of your roles, do you find that there are specific parts of the child welfare system or other systems that need to be aware of post-permanency services that maybe aren't?
Law enforcement. We received one referral in, I think, the 10 years that I've been doing it, one referral from the NYPD. And I was so, I wanted to know, because part of our intake is, how did you hear about us? Because that helps, that's great feedback. So we know where to start. And they just, I think they found us on the Kinship Navigator. Which was great. So how do we expand that, right? Because that one officer saw us, but how can we expand it to the local precincts in each borough? Because there's so many.
Schools. I think about schools. We actually have gotten referrals from social workers at guidance counselors at schools. This one particular school, we get the referrals from them because they know about us, but maybe joining PTA meetings, having schools know about us, and Department of Education as well.
Okay. Yes, the parent coordinators are key, because there's like 1,000 parent coordinators in New York City. And I remember maybe 5 years ago, I went to like their end of year workshop and spoke to the parent coordinators. And then after that, I tried to follow through with the FACE department multiple times so we can be included in those workshops, and I've never heard back. So you're constantly cold calling these people, emailing these people that are not as receptive as you may want them to be. But we have gotten referrals from school social workers, guidance counselors, and parent coordinators because they're specifically working with the parents in the community.
Okay. Also, I think hospitals that are focused on mental health issues, we have gotten some referral from the psychiatric unit where, youth or especially teens, when they go, sometimes it's hard for them for the adoptive parent to even have them back home. We've had referrals where the social worker will call or refer them that, can you support your just adopter? Can you support this adoptive mother go through the situation? So hospitals are very important, with more focus, focusing on psychiatric hospitals where the kids are, sometimes if they can go home, their group homes, avenues, or explore places that they can settle. My supervisor was sharing me, there was a family, they're still connected. She's not in the home, but the adoptive parent is still helping the child getting back to normal and being back in the home. But sometimes they need, that kind of space. And if we can get them to make these referrals and we can support them to give them the right place to go, advocate for them to be, in a group home setting, a place they can go, because some of the hospital want to discharge them. Families like, no, I don't want the child to come home. What happens if we don't take care? They're going to get in back. Like if I can do it, the child comes back to care. So to prevent that, we can also, that's another place we can reach out to them, and then we have social workers, contact us, and we can support the family through the situation when they are admitted in the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really clear that amongst these very large institutions, hospitals, law enforcement, schools, that that they can be siloed and people aren't talking to each other, and it's important that these entities are aware of your organizations and these post-permanency support services, so that these families can get the help and assistance that they need before situations worsen. And so I guess my last question is, what advice or tips might you guys have for organizations that are looking to begin their own post-permanency services?
Guess I would say, sorry, am I speaking over someone? Just know your population need. I think, of course, every time we apply for grants, the first question we pose to ourselves is, what is the population need? And then, of course, to invest in outreach. You really do, because then your current key staff, they're bombarded with their role and then outreach in addition. So I think that that's really important. I don't want to segue off, but I know Renee has a question.
Yeah, so I guess, we have about a little under 10 minutes left. And so I welcome any last minute questions in the chat box before we wrap up. So Renee's question is, what strategies does your organization have to prevent compassion fatigue, secondary trauma, and burnout in your direct service staff? Very important question.
We have clinical groups. We've tried to increase belongingness efforts. It's one an issue that staff that were hired during the pandemic feeling disconnected to the agency and to staff and programs. So different team building activities, different workshops, clinical supervision, clinical group, different outings. And then we also have for staff that do experience like a client loss, or sometimes we have very serious client incidents. We do have a committee that we discuss those incidents. We do have a safety CERT team that we debrief on the incidents to make sure that the staff member has those supports.
Okay, so in my organization, we have days, personal days, or sometimes called mental health days that you can take if you feel burnout. It's not a situation where I always feel blessed. I'm like, I don't struggle to get a day off, or if I need it. I feel like if I'm overwhelmed, that I'm given this day that I can apply and just get to have some time for myself and have some space to be able to reorganize myself to be there. So there is this opportunity to have this time where you can, I think it comes quarterly that you can use, be able to take a time and then come back, rejuvenate and come back.
We also have a generous time off policy that includes personal days as well. We think that's really important. Additionally, consistent supervision, I feel is a really good support for your staff. And for Cassie, I directly supervise her, but she also gets to meet with our clinician for supervision. So she gets that extra level of support from multiple people at the organization.
Yeah, I was gonna, say pretty much the same thing. Like Melissa and I meet weekly, and I meet with our clinician weekly, and we've definitely built a very positive relationship where I can say, like, I don't understand this case, or I'm struggling with this case, or I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And they both heavily encourage that I take my personal days or my mental health days, or, even if like during my lunch, like, don't look at your computer, like they really enforce and highly encourage self-care, whether that be through the supervision or, just on my own personal time, just making sure that I am doing things that are good for my mental health. And also encouraging, seeking services for ourselves when needed.
Any final questions for our panelists from the audience?
I just wanted to feedback on that, plus an earlier question you had asked Alan about the benefits of being a member of the Post-Permanency Support Program. As an unofficial fourth member of the program, of the coalition itself, I really appreciated the networking, the getting together, to understanding the issues from a variety of viewpoints. So that's a terrific other aspect of being a part of this. So I just wanted to share that.
Well, I really wanted to thank Pat at AFFC NY for hosting us and for graciously allowing us to participate in the conference today. And also want to thank our panelists, Evelyn, Samantha, Melissa, and Cassandra, for the rich discussion today, and just being so open and sharing your experience and expertise with all of us here. I know I learned a lot, and I really appreciate all that you guys are doing. So with that, if anybody has any other questions, I think our contact information is on the conference website. People should feel free to reach out to us if we can provide any additional assistance or support or just thought partnership. And again, thank you all for attending today.